Good afternoon, students, and welcome to you all once again. And as we all know that we are continuing the topic from history for standard 10. So let us continue our discussion. In our previous lecture, we have discussed about aristocracy and the new middle classes. Under that topic, we have discussed that aristocracy was the most dominant class in the 18th and 19th century Europe. Though aristocracy was numerically very small, then also it was powerful, because the type of aristocracy that was prevalent in those days in Europe was landed aristocracy. And as we all know that agriculture sector at that time was the only livelihood generating sector, means maximum population of the society were dependent on the agriculture for their livelihood. So after the industrial revolution in the Europe, especially Western Europe, and England was the pioneer in the field of industrialization. Industrialization took place first of all in England, and in western part of the Europe there was dominancy of tenancy type of farming, as well as marginal, if someone possessed the land also, then the land was available to him in fragmented form. The fragment of land was too small to sustain his family. And as we all know that for a profitable agricultural produce, it is necessary that one should have optimum size of land. So agriculture in the western part was not a profitable job. That is why industrialization took place in the western part of the Europe. And central Europe as well as in the eastern Europe, there was dominancy of aristocracy. And these aristocracies, even though they were small in number, they emerged to be very powerful, because they had large estates, not only in the countryside, but they also owned houses in the towns. And very often these aristocratic families were bound together through a matrimonial ties. Even their standard of living was very high, and they all had common standard of living. They lead a royal life. They spoke French in high society as well as for diplomatic conversations. So with the development of industrialization and increase in the industrial production, a new commercial class emerged in the society. As agriculture was not profitable, so along with commercial classes, there emerged traders, industrialists, as well as professionals like doctors, engineers, lawyers. And it was this section of the society that aware the general people against the privileged sections of the society, that is aristocracy. And the revolt took place for liberty and freedom, or we can say that for equality of law for each one in the society. So this was the topic that we have already discussed, and now we are to discuss for our next topic. So our today's topic of discussion is what did liberal nationalism stand for? See, the topic of discussion for today is what did liberal nationalism stand for? See, the ideas of united nationalism in the 19th century Europe was closely linked or related to the ideas of liberal democracy, and it was the democracy for which a revolt in the France took place. Okay, so now let us move further. Liberalism in its Latin word, Latin root comes from the word liber, and liber means free. See, liberalism had Latin root and it has been taken from the word liber, and liber means free. So we will understand the term liberalism under this topic in terms of three spheres of life, and these spheres are what? Social, political, and economic, spheres of life. These three are the areas that makes human beings civilized. So we will study the term liberalism under these three spheres of life for a human being, and these are social, political, and economic. So in terms of social, right to freedom and equality of all before the law. So see, for the early revolutionaries, the cause of revolution was these two things: right to freedom for all. See, freedom means what? I have already explained in my previous videos that freedom in terms of movement, freedom in terms of propagation of religion, freedom in terms of promotion of his own language, freedom of life, freedom of speech and expression. Means if you are in trouble, then you can express your trouble so that it will be removed, and if you don't possess the right to speak, you are restricted from speaking or expressing yourself, then you don't possess any kind of natural rights. So natural right comes when you have right to freedom. Equality of all before the law means there should not be any privileged class in the society. Each one in the society should be treated equally in the eye of the law. Since we have seen that there were discrimination in the society in the form that the society was divided into three classes: first state, second state, and third state. That is, clergy was at the top, and feudal lords and the royal society was at the second state of the society, and commoners, means general people, were at the lower sections of the society, and the commoners and the general people was the only tax paying society. The burden of taxation was put on the soldiers of third estate. So these kinds of discrimination were made. So the early revolutionaries were in demand of these things. For them, in the society, all should be equal by birth, and if some inequality exists in the society, then it must be on the basis of merit. If you possess any special merit, then you are respected in the society. Otherwise, all should be equal. There should not be any kind of discrimination on the basis of birth, that one is from royal society or feudal class society, and other is the son of a peasant. On this basis, there shall not exist any kind of discrimination. Okay. So socially, liberalism meant for the general people these two things: right to freedom and equality of all before law. Politically, it emphasized government by consent. Means ruler should be chosen according to the wishes of the citizens. So it was emphasized politically that government should be chosen or elected by their consent. It also meant for them a constitution, a representative government, through parliament, abolition of absolute monarchy and clerical privileges. See, politically, liberalism meant for the general people or the revolutionary that government should be made by their consent. A constitution must be framed so that each will felt equality before the law. A representative government through parliament. A parliament should be formed where representatives of the people should take part in the parliamentary proceedings or procedures. Abolition of absolute monarchy. Absolute monarchy should be replaced with representative government, and clerical privileges should be done away with. As a result, property of the churches and feudal lords were confiscated. So, socially we understood what does liberalism stood for early revolutionary, and politically also we have understood what were the demands of the early revolutionaries. But we will see many changes in the polity of the France with the passage of the time. Okay, so see, although right to adult suffrage was accepted, by National Assembly. But it gave restricted suffrage. See, after the revolution, although right to adult suffrage was accepted, but this right was given to them in a limited form, in terms of that only men above 25 years. All men were not given right to vote. Right to vote was given to only men who have attained 25 years of age, as well as only to those who can pay at least 3 days of his wage for a month's earning. Those who can pay at least 3 days of his work out of his monthly salary, they were only given the right to vote. They formed the voting class, and those one who possessed more property and could pay more taxes, they were qualified as electors. And the richest class of the society, who could pay maximum taxes, only those qualified to be as representative in the National Assembly. Means as much richer you are, that much respect you can expect in the society, or that much vocal power, means power to speak, you will have. Okay, so 25 years, and to those who can pay at least 3 days of his wage. And women were kept separate from this right. Women were not given the right to vote. Okay. So, continuing our discussion in right to suffrage, adult suffrage, I must rub this so that I will be able to move further. See, there are two terms. Let me first of all explain, so that you will develop a better understanding in polity. See, one is right to adult suffrage. Number one is right to adult suffrage. And number second is right to adult franchise. What is the difference between right to suffrage and right to adult franchise? See, right to adult suffrage means you are given right to vote. Right to vote. And right to adult franchisee means right to be elected. When you are being given the right to contest elections, then the right to contest election comes under right to adult franchise. Okay, so you must be able to make distinction between the two after understanding. Okay, so continuing our discussion from here. This was number 1. This was the reformation in terms of polity that was given first of all, and second reformation took place in the year 1792. In the year 1792, this was the constitution that was prepared in the year 1791. See, in France, first of all, constitution was prepared in the year 1791. Okay? And second constitution was prepared in the year 1792, when large Parisians gathered on the roads to protest against the rising food prices and hoarding of food grains. Okay, so in the year 1792, Jacobins under Maximilien Robespierre had changed the constitution of the 1791. And what were the changes that were made? The changes that were made were it lowered the voting age from 25 years to 21 years. It provided voting right to all, irrespective of property or to non-property sections of the society. So see, under the Constitution of 1791, it was given that the right of voting should be lowered from 25 years of age to 21 years of age, so that maximum people can participate in the election process. And the restriction of the property that was made in the Constitution of 1791, that those who can pay at least 3 days of his wage should be given the right of voting. This restriction of property was removed, and non-property men can also participate in the voting process. This was made. But again, political rights of the women were denied. Women were kept away from voting processes. So again, women kept their protesting. Okay? And the next time And the next changes that were made in the polity of France was when Napoleonic code of conduct was issued. So we will see. Let me rub this. And also one thing, under the Constitution of 1791, there was inviolability of property, means the right to property was given to general people. What does right to property means? Right to property means that general people can hold, possess and dispose of his property. What does it mean? It means that you can keep property, you can gift that property to anybody whom you wish, and also you can sell that property when you are in need. Okay, so this was the right to property that was given under the Constitution of 1791. Okay, so let me rub this. See, as I have discussed that during Napoleon's time, the third time France witnessed political changes. During or under Napoleonic code of conduct. Again, right to vote were given to only property class in the society, and women were reduced in status to minor, subject to authority under father or husband. See, under Napoleonic code of conduct, again there were made certain changes in the polity of France, and that changes were that again the condition of property were brought. The condition of property was removed by Maximilien Robespierre. There, non-propertied class of the society could also participate in voting. But under Napoleonic code of conduct, again property was made a mandatory thing, that only those who can give his vote, those who have property and those who could pay taxes. And the condition, or we can say that the political right of the women were further deteriorated. Women were reduced in status to a minor and was made under the authority of her father and husband. What does this mean? This means that whether women should be imparted education or not, whether women should be given property or not, that was fully to be decided by their father. A father could decide that whether his daughter could go to a school or not, and even if a father wanted, then only she could get a share in the property of his father. Okay, and after the marriage, these two conditions, that whether she is about to go to a college for continuing his education or not, was to be decided by her husband. As well as if a husband wanted, then only she could get a share in the property of her husband. Otherwise, she was denied of these two rights. So these were the changes that were made under polity. Okay, that you have studied in the standard 9th. Okay, now we will see what kind of liberalism in the polity that the people of France was demanding, or early revolutionaries wanted. What kind of changes? What does liberalism mean economically? Okay, so let us see. And now continuing our discussion of this topic through economic liberalism. Okay, so what does economic liberalism mean for the middle classes of the society? So economic liberalism for the middle classes stood for freedom to market, abolition of state imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital. See, these two things were the demands of the middle class society, so that economic liberalism could come. So see, these two demands were freedom to market and abolition of state imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital. As we have already discussed that Europe had not developed as nation state until 19th century. Most of the territories were called as territorial state, and there were no nation states. We have discussed. So see, under the territory of each ruler, and we have also discussed that there were numerous small principalities, and the citizens of that principalities often spoke different dialects. So at each territory, a trader has to pay taxes. This made trading costly occupation or profession. So let us see. Taking the example of Germany. See, Napoleonic, we have also discussed that how French revolutionary armies invaded in neighboring countries also to bring liberty in those European countries also. So Germany was also invaded by French armies, and administrative changes has created out of countless or numerous small principalities of Germany a confederation of 39 states. See, out of numerous German principalities, small principalities, 39 states were created. A confederation of 39 states were created by the Napoleon. For the ease of doing business. And see, and a trader in 1833, a trader in 1833 moving from Hamburg to Nuremberg had to pay taxes at 11 tariff barriers. And a trader who has to move from Hamburg to Nuremberg had to pay taxes at 11 barrier or tariff barrier centers, and at each center he was to pay 5% taxes on the weights and measurements of his goods. At each of the 11 centers, tariff centers, he was to pay 5% of the total weights and measures of the goods. The goods that was meant for measurement, like clothing. Cloth we don't weigh, we measure clothes. So, on the basis of measurement of clothes or weight of the goods, 5% taxes were extracted from the traders at each 11 centers. So, trading became a costly affair or occupation. And at each center, the measurement and weight units were different. Somewhere the measurement increased, while at some other center the measurement was reduced. Okay, see, for example, clothing. Nowadays, the standard unit of clothing is meter. But in those days, a standard unit of clothing was LA. LA. In those days, the unit of measurement was LA. And this unit meant different length at different tariff centers. For example, For example, at Frankfurt and LA means 54.7 centimeter. At means it means 55.1 centimeter of cloth. While at Nuremberg it means 65.6 centimeter. And at Freiburg it means 53.5 centimeter of clothing. See, for example, an LA, it was the unit of length, just like we have meter or centimeter today. Okay, so see, at Frankfurt and LA represented 54.7 centimeter of cloth. At means 55.1 centimeter of cloth. At Nuremberg 65.6 centimeter. And taxation were collected, or we can say that taxation were imposed accordingly. So it was a time consuming calculation. A trader has to wait for a long time unless and until he was able to pay his taxes. He had to stay at those tariff centers only. So in the 1834, the demand of the middle classes was for a unified German territory. And accordingly the tariff barriers was reduced to 2. Number of currencies was also reduced from 30 to 2. Unified economic territory was established on the initiative of Prussia. See, Prussia was a powerful German state. Prussia was very powerful German state. Okay. So on the initiative of Prussia, a unified economic territory was formed, and also a union of custom called Jolveri was formed. See, a union of custom was known by the name of Jolveri. This is important from the point of view of objective questions. So you should learn the names of Jolveri and LA. What does it stand for? Okay? You should remember these things. LA and Jolveri. So these were the administrative changes that were made in the year 1834 on the demands of the middle classes, so that liberalism in economic sphere could be brought and people could feel strengthened in terms of economy also. Therefore, railway lines were also laid for the movement of goods, people and capital, so that people could feel united in terms of economy also. Okay, so thank you students. We will discuss about next topic in our next video.